Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition, and we're going to talk about an awesome new occurrence that came out for a while beyond the Witchlight. I think it shocked a lot of people. Alignment is back. This is a huge, huge change with massive ramifications for the Dungeons & Dragons community. All right, so let's talk about it. So first of all, if you haven't been paying attention, the last 3 core rulebooks have abandoned alignment, right? So this is really a big deal. Like Candlekeep Mysteries, a perfect example. Candlekeep Mysteries was, in my opinion, my humble opinion, was designed specifically to be the most woke book that has ever been created for Dungeons & Dragons. It had 17 different authors, and they all had, like, all the Pokemon woke badges you could get, like, from every different angle, right? Like, from... and it was designed to just really be, like, super, super woke, right? Now, it did turn to tears and flames as one of the woke authors who was brought in said this book gave a lot of... pointed to the direction that this book was actually not woke or progressive, but actually regressive, right? And so, this attempt to make this super woke book, just turned to tears and flames, right? So, but the 2 books before that, too... Actually, the last 3 Dungeons & Dragons books had completely abandoned alignment. And it was for anybody who was paying attention, it was shockingly clear, right? Because alignment is part of a character block, is part of a player character block, is part of a monster block. And so when you pull it out, people notice, and people did notice, and people are like, oh, Wizards of the Coast is pulling alignment out because... this is an antiquated thing that no other tabletop role-playing game in the world has anymore, except Dungeons & Dragons, and maybe a couple exceptions, but all modern games are like, well, alignment's an antiquated idea about morality. Now, I think it's actually the most brilliant thing it's one of the most brilliant things. I guess there's a big, long race for brilliant things that Gary Gygax did, but it's one of the most brilliant things that Dungeons & Dragons does, and it's the thing that makes Dungeons & Dragons so fundamentally different, because when you put an alignment on your character sheet, this is the part people don't understand. When you decide what alignment your character sheet is, you decide what alignment you are, right? Like, every single Dungeons & Dragons player is like, well, my character is... neutral good. What am I? And then there's this existential moment where you're like, am I an evil person? Or and you have to grapple with that. It's one of the things I love about Dungeons & Dragons, right? Now the reality, there's been debates in the comment if I'm an evil person. Let's be really clear. I'm an evil person who is saved by the blood of Jesus Christ, and I'm working towards sanctification. So that's the answer on whether Scott Garibay is an evil person, right? So, yes, I'm absolutely, I've sinned against people every single day, and my only saving grace is I'm saved by the blood of Jesus Christ, and I'm trying to move toward a redemptive, sanctified spirit by being like Jesus Christ. I fail all the time, but I'm trying to get better at it, right? So, I'm simply an evil person who's saved, right? So that's the answer there. All right. So this is fascinating. So the last 3 books had rejected alignment, but Wizards of the Coast put it back in. And there is very clear, very traditional use of alignment in Wild Beyond the Witchlight. This is a huge deal, right? So why is this such a big deal? Well, one, it proves something that a lot of people were claiming wasn't true. And that is, Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro is responsive. They do listen to the D&D community, and there were people in the D&D community who were saying, I don't want post-alignment Dungeons & Dragons. I was one of them. I'm not the only person pulling that rope, but I certainly was pulling that rope, right? So the reality is, I think Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro were like, oh, hey, we are building this this whole thing. And we're trying to make this more woke game, but sometimes we just overshoot, and people are not happy, and people are not happy about alignment being removed from the game, and the D&D community is not ready for this. So I think that conversation was had in the halls of WotC and Wizards of the Coast, and in the halls of Hasbro, and they're like, let's put it back, man. And I think people don't understand this. They think that like Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro are this multi-billion-dollar corporation. Right? So first of all, Hasbro is a multi-billion-dollar corporation, okay? But Wizards of the Coast is not. They don't even make $1 billion a year, right? Like they made $885 million. We know that in 2020, and maybe 25% of that was D&D. We don't even know what percentage, right? So they don't even make $1 billion, right? They're not some huge conglomerate that doesn't listen to its constituents. They absolutely listen to to the Dungeons and Dragons community. This is shockingly clear proof of it, right? And so I will say I am surprised. But this is a day of celebration, because it means that if we make clear what we want, Wizards of the Coast is willing to change direction. That is massive, right? And this is one of the reasons why I love Dungeons and Dragons, why I love Wizards of the Coast, and why I love Hasbro, because they do listen. And the thing is, like, they listen at a level that is unmatched in any game in the world, right? And the reason why is because they can, right? They have these cyclical, Unearthed Arcana is a cycle, right? They do these surveys, and they don't just throw that data out. They are paying attention to it. And I can tell you right now, because Wizards of the Coast is owned by Hasbro, other tabletop role-playing game indie companies don't even have the ability to listen at the rate that Wizards of the Coast has. And this is proof that they are listening and they will change their mind. So I am massively, massively, wonderfully happy, right? So by the way, they put, I think its name is Stoneheart. And so Stoneheart is like neutral good, and Warhammer is evil, right? So, not Warhammer, War Duke, right? And so, and there's a whole bunch of other instances where there's a massive, it's a woke reject, right? They're saying, hey, we want to be woke. And by the way, I'm in the same boat as this, right? I want wokeness. I want the inclusivity and the peace that woke brings, right? But the reality is sometimes there are overshoots, and we can't sign on to everything that's on the woke agenda. I'm for a very selected, targeted, woke future, right? And I do not want overshoots getting there, right? So I know that's a nuanced position, and it's hard to kind of roll together, but that's where I stand, right? Now, here's the question. Why? Why is this happening, right? Well, I already discussed one reason. Wizards of the Coast is listening. The other thing, though, is Wizards of the Coast does not just listen to the D&D community. One of the things is, this is just my humble opinion, but Dungeons & Dragons is made by coastal elites. Everyone creating Dungeons & Dragons, to my knowledge, is a highly educated, highly literate coastal elite. They make a certain amount of money. I'll bet you at a 90% rate, I could guess their stance on like 50 different questions, right? Because they are coastal elites. D&D is made by coastal elites, right? And one of the things that's happening right now that I am really fascinated by is Hollywood is really starting to question their commitment to woke, and I was stunned. Well, I see it everywhere. But one of the clearest ones was I watched the Scenes from a Marriage. This is the most unwoke show I've ever seen Hollywood make. It's pure Hollywood. It is pure Hollywood, right? But it is so shockingly unwoke, and it's Hollywood walking back a lot of their woke stances, right? So why is Hollywood starting to walk back a lot of their stances? Here's the answer. The woke future that we are shaping, right? It's inclusive and it is peaceful. I think that's undeniable. It's more inclusive and it's more peaceful. Here's the kicker. One thing we now know is it doesn't make anyone happier. The old model made people happier. And I think Hollywood has figured this out. And I think they're like, whoa, we are in the happiness business. And if we're putting forward an agenda that is making the world more inclusive and making the world more peaceful, but people are not happier, we're not sure we want to be in that business. So I think that Hollywood is changing their commitment to woke. And I do think that the Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition design team is in lockstep with Hollywood. And as Hollywood walks back their woke commitment, I think, and it's not an abandonment, it's just walking back some of their woke commitment. I think Dungeons & Dragons is walking back some of their woke commitments. All that's my opinion. What do you think? Are you as excited about this alignment returning in Wild Beyond the Witchlight? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful, wonderful millennium.